Everyone's talking about England, the Three Lions. Is it coming home? But no one's talking about Norway. No one's talking about Erling Haaland, and no one's talking about this generation of Norwegian players that have already done history. Today, I'm not going to break down England. I've got 2 videos on England on the channel. So if you're hoping for an England video, this is a Norway video. Obviously, England's included because that's who Norway's playing. But Norway is another national team that we are breaking down on the Blue Gaffer FC from a professional football coach's tactical insights into the game. And starting off, let's talk a little bit about Norway's incredible rise. They're no longer our underdogs. I think we forget that they qualified for the World Cup with a perfect qualifying campaign, including beating Spain. They demolished Iraq in the opening group game at the World Cup to present themselves on the world stage for the first time, I think, in something like 44 years. They then beat Senegal and a hard-fought win against a tough opponent. A clinical display in the round of 32. Then they shocked Brazil. They've won 4 games already at this World Cup. The only game they lost was to France, already the semi-finalists. And if you've been a part of the Blue Gaffer FC, you know my favourites for this World Cup. But also that game against France, Norway benched every single one of their important players. Every single one of them. And for so many moments in the game, they could have won or drawn the game. France made so many defensive errors, particularly Upamecano, and Norway just couldn't take the chances. Most importantly, you have the players on the right. Haaland and Ødegaard are leading the way. Now, I identify these 2 players in 2 different ways. Erling Haaland is their in-possession player. He will score the goals. Ødegaard's their out-of-possession player. His pressing, his counter-pressing, his defensive ability to drop, to fight for the team, every game has been so impressive. And I've said this before in one of my short videos when I covered Norway, I think after both the Ivory Coast and Brazil victories. I said Norway, every game, especially Martin Ødegaard, because he's coming back from injuries and into fitness, he's progressing. And they're looking so much better. So why are they so dangerous? Because you look at the starting 11, Nyland, who's been incredible in goal, Ajar, who's an experienced centre-half, Ødegaard, Berger, Haaland, Sorloth, Nusa, Oscar Bob off the bench. They are such an organized nation and so compact. They know everything what their manager wants them to do. They're fast with their transitions. They have really good wide players. You'd never think Sorloth would be a good wide player, but he's been really, really top at this World Cup. They're not afraid to go directly into Erling. They know it's going to work. I mean, just look at the 2 goals against Brazil. The first one is a cross into the box. This is the very definition of direct ball. Get it out wide, get it into the box. And that works because you've got Haaland against Gabriel and he jumps and wins the header. And then you have the second goal. Now Brazilian players are a little bit fearful of Erling, so they start backing off, which is the worst and most stupid thing you can do as a defender. And as a coach, I would always tell my players, go to the ball. If they play a pass through you or over you or dribble past you, because I as a coach have told you, go for the ball. It's my responsibility and the goal is my fault. And then you're not responsible. I am. And I can take the sack. I'll be sacked as a coach if the results are not there. But play in the way that I'm telling you to play. Because if you decide to back off and they score a goal and my explicit instruction was do the opposite to stop the goal and you don't do it, then it's your individual responsibility. And that's the second goal against Brazil. They all back off and Haaland decides, okay, I'm just going to hit it then. And he scores a wonderful goal. And all of a sudden, Brazil find themselves 2-0 down with mere minutes left to play. Ødegaard controls the game, both in and out of possession. They're fullbacks in possession. They know how to attack. They know how to overlap, underlap. We've already mentioned about crosses, their ability from set pieces. I don't think I need to talk about their key players on the right-hand side because I think we all know who they are. Well, how can they defeat England then? What can they actually do to beat a nation that under Thomas Tuchel has a clear goal, a second star on the shirt? What can they do? Well, they're going to attack England's fullbacks, and England have a massive problem at fullbacks. No Reece James, no Livramento, no Jeremy Kwanzaa, no Trent Alexander-Arnold. A massive problem at fullback positions. Who are we going to play at right back? I'm very interested. Who are we going to play at right back? Is Reece James going to be back fit? I don't know. I doubt it. Does that mean we play one of our centre-backs at right back, Stones or Konza? Who plays left back? Nico O'Reilly probably. He's played every single game. What if he loses fitness, concentration or injury? There's a massive fullback problem for England. And I think Norway's tactic in possession is going to be how can we get Ødegaard to go wide onto England's right-hand side where his natural left foot can cause problems, because we are having a big problem in our right-back position. They're going to try and isolate Erling Haaland against John Stones and Mark Guehi and Konza. And I think if John Stones doesn't start, unless there is an injury, it's the biggest mistake that Thomas Tuchel can make, because John Stones knows Erling Haaland from their time at Manchester City together. Knows everything about him and probably knows how to defend him best. He needs to be there. He needs to be there. They're going to exploit England's poor high press. England at this World Cup have had a really poor high press. They've tried it in moments against Panama, in moments against Congo, in moments against Ghana, but not really. And against Mexico, they had about 35, 40% of the ball. They sat in a mid to low block for the majority of the game. Okay, understandable, because for close to 40 minutes of the match or 45 minutes of the match, basically a whole half, they were playing with 10 men. I'm including, obviously, the added time. And for me, England have huge vulnerabilities. I've mentioned the fullback positions, their press, the issues in their defensive line. Norway have a bigger chance than I think the rest of the world is giving them. So let's look into England's problems a little bit more. And like I say, this is a Norway video, so we're assessing Norway and the English problems. And I've spoken about all of these things. But is the plan really there from England? Is it? Because people said we didn't like the football under Gareth Southgate. But Gareth Southgate football was successful. He reached 2 finals, a semi-final, and a quarter-final in his 4 tournaments. So Thomas Tuchel's already reached the quarter-final. So he's achieved the minimum of what Gareth Southgate's achieved. Now, if Tuchel has another 3 tournaments and he performs the same, semi-final and 2 finals, or better and actually wins a trophy, of course you're going to say Thomas Tuchel has done a better job. But currently, has he? Because the game against Ghana, the game against Panama, the game against Congo, and the game against Mexico have been really bad performances from England. Everyone was praising the game against Mexico. If that was Gareth Southgate coaching the team, you would have all been hating on him because he's English and because you don't believe he's a good coach. But England basically parked the bus against Mexico. And Mexico, on the balance of expected goals, chance creation, final third entries, possession, shots on target, should have won the game. But they didn't because they didn't just quite have the quality. But Southgate would have set the team up in exactly the same way. Long balls from the start, get used to the Azteca Arena, get used to the crowd, and it would have been a defensive performance, which it was. But because the name is Thomas Tuchel, because he has a bigger brand, a bigger stature as a coach, a personality and ego, everyone's praising rather than exhibiting that annoyance, which is interesting. Now, if I was the England manager, I would go with this starting 11. Now, for 2 reasons. The first reason is we have a massive fullback problem, and we've not been expansive or attacking enough. So why don't we play with wingbacks? Now, the second reason is Thomas Tuchel always uses a 3-back system in build-up. So he plays a 3-2-5 in build-up, always, when England have possession in their half. And it's usually the 2 centre-backs and Anderson who drops in, usually. So if we're utilising a 3-2-5 system in build-up, why don't we just play a 3-at-the-back system? It dominates Haaland because it's 3v1. Stones right at the centre. Guehi and Konza are only 2 other fit centre-backs either side of him. You've got a full-back problem, so why don't you play Saka and Gordon? Or if you've got the problem that that's 2 attacking, okay, then play Saka and O'Reilly. Or Gordon and O'Reilly. Rice and Anderson is the pivot. That doesn't change regardless. Bellingham is a 10. That doesn't change regardless. And the reason I've got 2 strikers, Kane and Tony, is because Kane always likes to drop. And sometimes it's just Bellingham running in behind. So that forward, again, I'm talking about England's attack, is not quite there. Well, if you play a 3-4-2-1, you can play a 3-4-1-2. You can play a 3-5-2. You can play a 3-4-3. There's different variations and it's flexible. When you're defending, you can drop into a 5 quite naturally, a 5-2-3. So there's so many options. And it allows England to build up a 3-2-5 without actually asking anyone to drop in anywhere. And it's easier in terms of the positional rotations. Because you have your back 3 building, Rice and Anderson, the double pivot that Tuchel loves, a double pivot, come get the ball in play. Push Gordon and Saka up a little bit. And then you're still in your 3-2-5. And I just think it makes a lot more sense. And it's more expansive and it's more attacking and it's more brave football. And I said this if you watch my England video, the second one, I spoke exactly about this system and about how I believe it can get the most out of the English players. Let me know your thoughts. So what's my tactical prediction? Not my result prediction. What's my prediction in terms of the game? Well, if England were to exhibit a 3-4-2-1, I think they'd dominate possession. I think they'd find and identify spaces. And I think it would push Norway back, because by allowing our wing-backs to go higher up, Norway are not going to want to leave their fullbacks in 1v1 scenarios, especially if you're playing a 2-1 sort of diamond triangle shape up there. Kane or Bellingham or Tony can run into the channel. So it's already almost a 2v1 on that fullback on that side. So that automatically means that the likes of Nusa, Ødegaard and Soloff are going to have to drop. And what that means is that when Norway win the ball back, they are less dangerous now, because they have a central pass to Haaland, of which we're going to play Stones to man mark him and 2 on the either side of him. One can cover maybe the nearest forward running and one can cover the spaces. Because we have 3 rather than 2, we can afford that extra defensive solidity. And when Haaland gets the ball, he has now less options, because Musa, Soloff and Ødegaard have been forced to drop to deal with England's threat in the name of Tony, Kane, Bellingham, Gordon, Saka. So they now have a bigger problem, and it's easier for England to counter-press and to press high, which are the 2 problems that they've had so far at this World Cup. Their inability to do either one of those things. Sorry. So that's my tactical prediction for the game. But what's my final prediction? As much as I've been talking a lot of praise about Norway, and as much as I do see it being a tight game, do I see Norway winning the game? No. No, I don't. I see England winning this match. Comfortably? No. I think it's going to be the first time that England's really going to be tested. They haven't had an extra time yet. And I think of the balance of the game against Congo, against Ghana, against Panama, against Mexico, England will get an extra time game before the final. And I really think it's going to be Norway, because I think Norway have the defensive solidity to frustrate England like Congo did, but they have something Congo don't, and that's Haaland and Ødegaard. I believe it's going to be something like a 1-1 after 90 minutes, but I do believe England's quality, especially off the bench, the players that we can bring on, whether it's Gordon that starts, Rashford can come on. If it's Saka that starts, Midwayke can come on. Ollie Watkins can come on. There's 3 forward examples of players that can come onto the pitch. And I do believe, with that said, England just about win this game and reach the 2026 World Cup semi-final. That's my opinion. Let me know yours. Guys, thank you for watching. Here's my little outro slide. I'm adding this in. The next video that's up on the channel is obviously going to be my World Cup quarterfinal review and semi-finals prediction. After all the semi-final games have been posted, I believe on the 13th of July, that video is going right up onto the channel. Subscribe and join the Blue Army, join the Blue Gaffer FC for all your tactical breakdowns, expert insights, and tournament coverage. That's pretty much it from me, guys. Thank you for the support on the channel, and I'll see you on the next video.